Welcome to the August summer edition of Caribbean Calendar. And the summer in Ottawa, you know, brings a lot of excitement. And so Caribbean Calendar will be bringing you excitement, starting off with Freetown Collective visiting Ottawa. With me in the studio are Muwakil, and Lyons. But you told me to say, you asked me to give you the French version, so I said Lyons. But it's Luke Lyons.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to Caribbean Calendar. Welcome to Ottawa. It's just great to have you both.
Thank you for having us.
You had a statement, Luke, that ended with the idea that who you are, could be in direct opposition to what is normal, is madness. What did you mean by that?
I think whether you're a young person, you're an adolescent, or you're an adult, we're all still searching. We're still all journeying through life. Nobody actually finally gets it all together. And by that I mean finding yourself is a process of madness in itself.
Yeah.
You know, and our journey in being artists from the Caribbean is embracing what feels like madness in order to find ourselves.
Now you're co-founders of the band.
Yes,
both.
indeed.
You are the band leader
We could say that.
and you are the lead singer.
Yes.
But I gather that this was not always your calling. What did you do before and what brought you to this?
Yeah, I studied science my whole life, so CXC, A levels, and came into university to do civil engineering, and just decided that wasn't for me. When I got there, it didn't feel right. I shifted around a lot. Eventually, ended up literature and international relations, and did not complete that degree because we started Freetown,
Okay.
and we got an opportunity to go to London, and it was really to finish my last semester at university or to go to London, and
You opted to go
I
to
opted
London.
to go to London, and that was it.
Luke, I gather you are.
Yeah, I was a practicing attorney before abandoning that altogether to pursue this calling. But I always felt like music was my calling though.
Mhm.
I just had no examples of it being a viable choice in life. Like I didn't know any career artists at the time. So that pursuing a profession felt like the safe thing to do until we realized that this is what we really needed to do.
Did either of you have any formal music training?
Absolutely none.
No, no. I just had an idea in my mind that I could sing. I just told myself this is something I want to do, and when we started, we dedicated ourselves as much as we could to moving towards being better at the craft, you know.
I had
But
church.
sorry,
Yeah,
pardon me?
I played instruments and sang in church,
Oh,
but
okay.
there was no formal training before that.
So just because I'm sure there may be probably some young people out there who went through that same kind of struggle. Just tell me a little bit more of that metamorphosis. How did it actually come
Yeah.
that you gave up your civil engineering? What did you, so they know what to look for?
What to feel for, really.
Okay.
You're not looking for anything. It's you know, I believe there are certain points in your life where your soul kind of just rests, right? And you're happy, you feel really immense joy. And then you put yourself in other positions, and if you're feeling from that place, you're like, this is not it for me. And I just shifted myself around until I found what it was. And the thing that they should look out for is that when you're doing that shifting, life is not very tolerant of that. people who love you generally are not very tolerant sometimes of you making those shifts, especially if you make a few, because I made a few, you know. But if you know that you're heading towards something and you want to feel something in your soul, then make the shifts until you feel it, you know.
And then, is that the same experience for you?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I like to say that the voice of God is in the loud idea. Like all of your thoughts don't come at the same volume, but there are things that you're going to find yourself doing that it takes up a lot of your imagination, it takes up a lot of your dreaming, and it takes up a lot of your time. I think that is a really clear indication to you that you're being pulled to something, that there's a gravitational force and you need to pay attention to it.
How important is support from family, close friends in this process?
It's everything.
Yeah, it's everything, but at the same time, you really have to be clear about what you want and what you are doing.
Mm-hmm.
Because while the support will be there, they won't always be happy to support you. Like, you're not going to always get the support in the form of, hey, yeah, you know, I love everything that's happening. No, so sometimes you're charting it through some choppy waters with your family and with the people around you, you know, and you kind of have to consistently believe in what you're doing, because, yeah, it's not always, even though the support is there, they will go down with the ship.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, for you not to reach the point where you're like, all right, let's all jump off of this, because this is, you know, you have to kind of renew your belief again and again.
Well, I have to thank you. And one thing I have to thank you for, I don't remember if I knew or I forgot that Freetown, that area, was a place where I guess people, slaves, could go and become free. But Freetown is now Belmont.
Yeah.
And I have always thought of Belmont, I'm not from there, but I've always thought of Belmont as the very heart of Port of Spain. There's something about it. Everybody seems to come from Belmont or has a relative from Belmont, but it is. It's the heart of so much. And
Yeah.
I think you truly represent the heart of not only Port of Spain, but the heart of Trinidad and Tobago, and I thank you profusely.
Thank you for
Thanks.
having us.
Thank you very much.
It is my great honor to sit here and speak with the two of you today. I don't think that I even knew the impact that your music has on me until I was really digging deeper into your story. I was introduced to you from someone who asked me to choreograph a wedding dance to the song Oshun. And they sent it to me at first, and I was like, but who this? You know what I mean? Who wrote this? Who's incorporating our ancestry and our history and our divinity into their music in a way that is just so beautiful, honoring our past? You new Calypsonians, urban Calypsonians who are telling our truths to people who didn't even know their truth. Tell me about that. Tell me about why you have rooted your music in our ancestry, our rituals, our past. What does that mean to you?
So I grew up very militant Muslim Islam. And in that process, even though we were mostly an Afro-Muslim community in Trinidad, I didn't grow up learning about Marcus Garvey or Haile Selassie. You know, they would touch on certain things about Malcolm X maybe, you know. But there was such a large part of the history that we didn't know about. I certainly didn't know anything about Carnival except that it was pagan thing. You know, and I grew up on one Mukarapa Road and the trucks used to pass in front there. You know, you're living in a very conservative Muslim community and you're seeing all these women out there, your mother covering from head to toe, and you see these women passing whining on the road and who's stopping in the side street to pee and whatever. It looked like a whole other thing to me, and no one ever said to me that that wasn't all it was. When I got older and I met people like N2 Springer and Ella Ander and Leroy Clark and Pat Bishop, and they began to explain to me things about the culture that I didn't understand, I realized that a part of my job now was to take that information and spread it as widely as possible for youths like myself at the time who had no understanding of the power that they had in them by way of their own culture, because nobody had ever told me. So the energy and it's always there, and it's free to be accessed. The ancestors did the work, they made the rhythms, they made all of these different things for us to just go in and say, okay, this is my inheritance. It's a lot, and I can decide from this where I want to sit in the culture. And if you do it right, if you honor it in the right way, and if you have the right intention, it will lift you, it will feed you, it will take care of you if you are carrying it on in the right way. So for me, that was the whole point, and that is the whole point of doing what we're doing.
Wow, so much to unpack there.
Yeah, we can.
So much. Tell me, for you, tell me the same question, really.
In the moment, so much of it feels like just responding to resonance. You don't know why something is resonating with you, but you're open enough to learn about it, to be moved by it. And the more we've allowed ourselves to immerse into it, the more we now have the language to articulate what has happened. So now I'm looking back and having the knowledge and the language, I now understand. To borrow the words from two of our friends, Rondell Benjamin and Jamie Filbert, our ancestors, through a technology called calendar, packaged things for our survival so that we would survive enslavement. And journeying back to ourselves through mindfulness, we will discover what was meant for us to find. It has always been with us, genetically and through practice. Our ancestors coded us with a deep, enriched coding of identity. And at first the discovery is going to be what resonates with you. And once you obey that, it is going to blossom and unfold. And then as you dig deeper into yourself, you're going to realize, oh, there's a grand design to this.
It's a living,
I couldn't know.
it's a living library. But it's what you want to access from it, you know.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, because at different parts of our life, it's almost like we're pulling different chapters.
Yes.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
And you talked before, so much to unpack them. You talked before about Carnival. And I heard an interview with you when you talked about it being a ritual. And can you speak more to that, about why you believe it's more of a ritual?
Yeah. So I studied calendar for a bit with Rondell Benjamin in the Bois Academy. And one of the songs in calendar itself, it says 40 days before the festival, every stick man prepare the ritual, right? We used to be a lot more ritualistic about it, right? Because there's also something that says we wear the mask for 363 days, and then for the 2 days of carnival we take the masks off, right? So even though we put on the costume, we actually becoming who we actually are. You know, some of the proponents of mask say, don't play mask. You are a bat, you are a sailor, you are, you know, because we designed a quiz a couple of years ago, because we realized that certain characters survived in the carnival because they were so close to the personality traits, or they echoed personality traits of who we actually are, right?
Like
So,
which ones? Which ones?
all the ones that survived, because there were so many, right?
Okay.
So the ones that survived, the Wild Indian, the Peregrine, the Midnight Robber, why did these characters stand out to us and survive up to this day? Why do we hold on to them so much? It must be because that there are people who the same resonance, it echoes with them, right? And so we come to a place now where it's, in searching for authenticity, you enter into this space. All year you're forced to be a bank worker. You're forced to be whatever years you are. And people used to prepare their costumes for themselves. People used to work on their thing whole year and then come out in the road and play themselves. You know, and play themselves. So inside of that, there's a deep, deep ritual as a human being where you are considering yourself throughout the year. What do I want to be? Who do I want to? You are thinking about it, right? And then sometimes you, in conjunction with other people, make a decision, and the tribe say, this is how we feel this year. There's something going on in the world we want to talk about. This is the ritual, you know, this is the ritual.
And that comes through in your music, because you talk about the rituals.
Yeah.
And you specified one kalinda. Now I know kalinda as a dance, but and many may know it as a dance, but it's rooted in something else. Can you speak a little bit more for our viewers to understand what is kalinda?
So as our friends Rondell Benjamin and Jamie Philbert of Boa Academy would explain, they would call it is a technology. Sometimes it is manifested as the martial art, which is stick fighting. Sometimes it will be manifested as the love ways, the work songs, and sometimes it will be manifested as the dance. But it is really knowledge that is encapsulated that could only be unlocked through practice. So it's a cipher. If you're not in the practice of it, you're on the outside of it, and it will only look like a dance. It would only look like a stick fight. It would only sound like songs. But when you are immersed in the practice of it, so much self-discovery happens, so much cultural awareness happens, and so much identity gets unlocked into your awareness.
So speaking of identity, there's so many of us from the Caribbean who are in the diaspora. I personally, my whole family was born in Dominica except for me. So I felt like I was grasping as a Canadian, grasping with my identity and to find out who I am. And I also realized that there are many of us, whether born there or not, who are struggling to be rooted, struggling on that outside of that cipher. What would you tell people like me who are trying so hard to ground themselves and for our Caribbean identity and practices to not only be just a side thing, but to really truly be the core of who we are? What would you say to those people?
To embrace that an essential part of our culture is rebellion. David Rudder in one of his songs, the opening lines, no noble thought brought us here to this region, but through it all we have risen above. And in just those 4 lines, that explains that we were brought here not by any goodwill, not by anyone's great intentions for us to flourish, but through it all we have found ways to not only survive but flourish
Through it
and,
all.
and thrive. So while our culture has many parts of it that look like fun and dancing in the sun, deep within it are practices of rebellion, because we have to push against the systems that are foreign to us, that are seeking to provide identities for us that are not indigenous to us.
Right.
It's through us pushing back and saying, we don't really resonate with all of this, but there's something about what we're doing here that makes me feel at home, that I want to delve in, that I want to embrace. So I would say, feel deeply what you're resonating with and be immersed in it first. And you'll find your way.
And I would say, why do you think that you're not living in the same time as someone like Malcolm X? Or we are facing some of these same things that have just transformed themselves into other ways. So do you think that it's not necessary for you to become something that makes the change? The change hasn't been made fully yet. We're still on the journey. So whether it was actual chattel slavery, whether it was civil rights, or whether it is what we see today, you know, the trenches of classism and racism and all the things that we still uncovering that they haven't disappeared. They just dive deep into the society and embed themselves in ways that we increasingly can't see and are uncovering. So we're still in a time of revolution, and as black people existing on planet Earth, we will be in a time of revolution for a long time.
Yes.
So if you find yourself in a place that is not strictly your home, you actually may have a lot more work to do than the person who is at home. Fall in, learn about your culture, and make sure that wherever your culture is strong. in you because it's already there.
Yes.
Nobody's going to mistake you for somebody that is, nobody gonna mistake you for a white woman at any point in your life.
Right?
And that means something.
Yes, it does. It truly does. I want to bring it back to your music because, so as I mentioned, I was introduced to you with your song Oshun. Stayed with me. I choreographed this piece of love. And even though it's meant to be a lullaby, this couple chose it to be their love song. Then we hear a song on the radio, and I'm like, oh, it's Oshun. I'm getting ready to sing my lyrics, because I'm jumping in. But it's a next song, Take Me Home. And I'm like, and then I started singing Oshun with Take Me Home. Was that intentional? Tell me no.
Absolutely not. And the thing is, it was so not intentional and could not be intentional that the melody in that song that reminds you of Oshun, I didn't come up with that melody, which is the chorus, right?
Yes.
It's only afterwards somebody, I think it was Jiron, was like, that is part of the Oshun and sang the part of the thing that's Oshun. I said, well, she put herself in the song. I didn't do that.
But that's Kalinda.
Yes.
Kalinda is the birthplace of Calypso and all the other expressions that we have. So they could also say that Take Me Home sounds like High Mass from David Rudder. It's borrowing from the same stream. It's the same inspiration. It's the same well of consciousness that we as people from the Caribbean have access to.
I love it. I love your music, and it's the lyrics. What I so appreciate about you and your lyrics and your music is that I can share it. I can share it with my children. I can share it with my community. And you're telling a story. Sometimes I have to pause it and explain, We were dancing to Oshun and I had to stop and explain, okay, hold on, I gotta talk to you about Shango, Oshun. So it opens a dialogue.
Yeah.
That's what your music does. It opens a dialogue that has been shut for so long, right? Tell me about that. Tell me about Granny. I want to know about Granny. I've been hearing all this about Granny. Tell me about Granny. And is she the one who inspired your reverence, I want to say, to women and how you honor women? Is it Granny? Is it Granny? Tell me.
I want to say absolutely yes. She's a part of it. There were many stalwart women in my life. When I think about my life and the kind of women that have come in and out of my life, I mean, I've lived in the presence of Ella Handel. I've lived in the presence of Pat Bishop, and there was this Baptist lady called Mother Patsy who was really instrumental in my teen years as well, raising me. My father's mother, and Granny, of course, Granny, of course, Mrs. No Nonsense. Yes, instrumental, because when we started singing, they were very, they would sit and they would kind of listen. The support would come if you were singing something they approved of. If we were singing another kind of music, we wouldn't get the support from our families that we have.
Right.
His family probably would have abandoned him by this point if we were singing some kind of, and mine as well, because they would want to support you, but they would distance themselves, and my family is mostly women, so yeah, definitely it comes from there, and the desire to put these stories there. I wouldn't always say that it's fully, the intention is like on the top part of it.
Right.
It's something inherent that you just kind of feel. Again, we come back to the idea of resonance,
Right.
In my time of wanting to express to my niece that I loved her and I wanted to make this lullaby for her, in that time, where did my soul go? Where did because I wasn't sitting down listening to other foreign music and inundating myself with that, so that when my expression came, it was drawing for those references. I was seated in myself squarely. And so if you're seated in yourself, then your soul kind of knows where the things are, right? I'm sick, okay, let me reach for this, let me reach for that. In calendar they say that the ancestors say, any disease, any sickness you have, the cure can be found in the plants 1 mile from your house, right? Within walking distance, 1 mile from your house, right? And I think it's the same thing. If you sit down in yourself in a certain kind of way, you will draw for what heals you, or whatever you need to do from that close part of yourself.
Your music heals. Your music heals. I have watched people in tears listening to your music. Last week we closed with Ocean, and I was talking to them about you, and there were people who, this is a class of 100 people in a space that seats thousands. You could not hear a pin drop. They sat in it. So what you have rooted yourself in, you're sharing in such a beautiful way. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for the legacy that you are carrying. I want to thank you in the spirit of Sankofa, of the nuggets that you are carrying from the past and walking forward with.
I wanted to say one thing about that before we close off, which is, when I was coming up, I thought that in order to be a musician, it was something that you were born with and you were special, and that someone couldn't find their way into the culture just like that, like, you know. And people looking on from outside, I know people often feel that way, as though musicians are some people who have some connection to God that is beyond them, and some connection to spirit and some understanding that they don't have, and it's not true. Each and every one of us, by right, because God is not unjust, has a direct line to the creator of the heavens and the universe, and therefore also a direct line to any power that they decide that they want to possess. That's just the truth. You don't have to ask anybody for it. You don't have to. All you have to do is make the intention that when you are moving towards this, you are going to singularly move towards this thing, and nothing that gets in your way is going to stop you. If something stops you, then you are not deserving of the power that you seek. Something stops you, you're not deserving of it. In that sense, meaning that you are worthy, but you have deemed yourself unworthy by allowing something to stop you from attaining what you want to attain. But other than that, every single human being, and if you want to be a great musician, if you want to be a great writer, you may not have the natural talent. If nobody in your line might have ever done it, and you might be the first, you know. You have the opportunity to always rise and become another link in a completely unbroken chain. You always have that opportunity. But that chain is so strong, you can't just enter it just like that. It's not going to allow anybody and everybody to be a link in the chain.
Right.
That's why a lot of people try and they don't make it.
Right.
So that's something I would want to always leave with people. Like, you could be sitting down somewhere and you could be whatever age, and you think it's past me, or it's beyond me, or, you know, because I'm here, or like you said, you know, I'm not born there, none of that matters. What matters is your intention and your desire to push yourself and to become what you want to become.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And really, I don't have any closing words. All I have to say is Ashe. Thank you. Thank you for watching Caribbean Calendar. I'm your host, Suzanne Richards, and your community producer is Ingrid Jean-Baptiste.